Good morning, everybody. My name is Jackie Geringer McDermott. We are recording live from the English Valley History Center in North English, Iowa. I'm very interested in history, and I've never been on camera before, but I'm wanting to give this a shot because I really want to tell you about our wonderful History Center and the things that go on here. I'm working on a project, and it's called The Diaries of Lib Wade. I'm going to start reading. January 1st, 1946. This was Daisy's book. It has been in the trunk till now. I think I will use it and jot down happenings of each day if I don't forget. Suzanne came up from Wayne's alone. Walter went back to Great Lakes in the PM. Lyle is at Wayne's. Russell and I are alone. Coldest day of the year so far. 18 degrees below zero. Mrs. Huff was here. Russell finished paying for the house and has a little left in the bank. This diary was written by my great-great-aunt, Mary Elizabeth Claypool Wade, who was known as Libby Wade. She was my grandmother's aunt and the matriarch of our very, very large family. Libby lived a half a block east of Main Street in a little house on Oak Street in North English, Iowa, until near the end of her life in 1959. I don't remember her, but she knew me as a baby. Downtown North English was also the center of my life as I grew up. I would like to introduce you page by page to the cast of characters from North English, Iowa. Libby called everyone by their correct name. No nicknames for her. Wayne, whose nickname was Perky to the rest of us. Warren, Anna, and Russell were her children. Wayne lived south of her 1 block. That would be down on Clark Street. Warren also lived in North English. Anna lived in Texas, and Libby shared her home with her youngest son, Russell. She was 71 years old when this diary started in 1946, and she and her sister-in-law, Minnie Claypool, were the last of their generation. Her father and mother had come to Iowa County to settle around the time of the Civil War. And I'm going to show you a picture of our ancestors. Libby is in the center of the picture. She is the little girl in the middle. And her parents are on either side of her. They're Jonathan and Ann Mariah Claypool. And her brothers and sisters were all older than her. And they were all married and had little children when this picture was taken in 1894. We're not too high-tech yet, but in the future we'll have probably better systems so we can show you some of these pictures close up and better. The diary belonged to her sister-in-law, Daisy Mall Claypool, and Libby got it out of the trunk and started recording the daily happenings. As you will soon see, Libby had several visitors to her home each day. Libby had 10 surviving grandchildren and 19 great-grandchildren at the time of her death. 7 of the grandchildren lived close by in Iowa and visited often. And she also had 3 grandsons in Texas. Grandson Walter, or Bud Wade as I knew him, was just headed back to Great Lakes Naval Base today. World War II had just ended last year. Suzanne Kurtz Walrab is Libby's oldest great-grandchild, who was 3.5 years old at the start of this diary. Suzanne had walked up from her grandparents' house to visit her great-grandma today. Lyle Furman was a friend of Wayne's who lived with the family sometimes. Mrs. Huff was a lady from town who came over to do sewing projects in the evening with Libby. If you have any questions or comments or pictures to share with me, please let me know. I love to learn about history. January 2, 1946. Russell went to Cedar Rapids for the lumber company. Charlie Hardin was buried today. He died on December 31st. I heard Mabel Popham had an injury. She is in Mercy Hospital in Iowa City. Lyle Furman was here. Mrs. Wilson moved. Libby's son Russell worked for the Home Lumber Company in North English, which is right across the street here where the grocery store is nowadays, and that was a block north of their home. Their home was on East Oak Street, which would have been right behind where Evans Photography was at, across the street from Gene Kaufman's. There's a little house. It's no longer there. There's storage units there now. I looked up Charlie Hardin. That was somebody she talked about on January 2nd. I had not heard of him before. I looked in the newspaper articles. We have access to newspaper articles on the front pages of the North English Record. And he was 77 years old and had operated a harness and shoe repair shop downtown in North English. January 3, 1946. Mrs. Agnew is moving in today. It's very foggy this morning and cold too. Lots of ice everywhere. Gehringer sale is today. I bought eggs from Mary Regsegger for 34 cents a dozen. I have been paying 40 cents or more when Mr. Randall brought them. Mrs. Agnew was a longtime neighbor. She lives to the east of Libby's on Oak Street, in the greenhouse on the corner of Oak Street and Southeast Street for many years. She'd be John and J.R. Roig's grandmother. Gehringers were my grandparents. They sold out their farming operation in early 1946, still retaining ownership of the farm, and moved to town to a house on the east end of Oak Street. We have this picture of them, my grandparents, when they lived on East Oak Street. This is hanging on the wall in the History Center. That house on the end of East Oak Street no longer exists, but they came into town in 1946 and lived there at that time. January 4th, 1946. Queer weather. Rain and thunder and lightning in the AM. Heavy fog this afternoon. Icy slush everywhere. January 5th, 1946. It rained all day. Ice melted from the walks. Lena got burned when the gas stove exploded. Gehringers are moving today. The river is out. The water is up in Randall's kitchen. The temperature is 50 degrees at 5 p.m. Lena Wade was Libby's daughter-in-law. She was later a long-time employee of the North English Telephone Company. January 6, 1946. The snow and ice are gone. Bright sunshine today. Hazel was up. Mrs. Neva Morse was here. Hazel Wade Cobb was the newly married 19-year-old granddaughter of Libby Wade. She was the daughter of Perky or Wayne and his wife Jenny. Hazel and her husband Glenn Cobb gave these diaries to the English Valley History Center so that we might all enjoy them. I have typed out the words because the diaries are hard to read. Neva Morse was a neighbor who lived 2 blocks north of her. If you have any questions or comments, please share with me. Our broadcast will be more techy in the future, but for now, please bear with us as we get started. This is the picture of Libby that was taken for when she was a 60-year member of the Rebeccas. So you know what she looked like. Now I'm going to go, the next part of our recording is about our acquisition of the week. And our acquisition this week is back here behind me. And I'll bring it up so we can see it. Right there it is. And I have a funny story about it. I walked into the History Center on Saturday morning, and one of the guys asked me if I knew what that was. And my first thought was Roberta Reinert wore that. And then I looked around the room and I saw Sherry Lockridge Moffat. And I said, that's Sherry's band outfit. And they said, how'd you know that? And I said, I watched her for years as a majorette because I was in marching band too. So that's our acquisition of the week. If you're interested in seeing this or any other thing we've got, please stop by the History Center. Coming events. Jacob Glandon will be giving the program at the English Valley History Center on November 17th at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Jacob is a filmmaker, and he has made films about Wat Cheer and about the English Valley Care Center. He has an upcoming project on digitizing, which I think is updating old VCR tapes. That should be very interesting to watch. And I really enjoyed Jacob's progress from the time he started with the Wat Cheer film. I went to see it, and it's just remarkable. For as young as he is, and to understand as much as he does about filmmaking is really, really genius. I also wanted to tell you about the display of the week. Be sure to stop and see the display of the week, which is Ron Van Berkham's political buttons. I'll give you a look at them here. I have a whole list of them over here. This will be on display until after the election. Here's an example of what they look like. He's got some really interesting stuff if you'd like to stop by sometime and see them. And I'd also like to remind everyone to like and follow the English Valley History Center page on Facebook. Yesterday, they had a very nice post about our friend Helen Bucher, who passed away this week. Mrs. Bucher was a longtime home ec teacher at English Valleys. They posted some nice pictures and a tribute to Helen. We will miss her at the English Valley History Center. Thank you for watching my podcast, and I hope that you can come back and join us again next week. We hope to go live again from the English Valley History Center. Goodbye.
Good job.
To stop.
I think somebody's in there.